Well, we talked about it at the beginning, and now we have with us Liv Harrison. She is a speaker, an MC, a podcast host. We are so glad to have her with us today. Welcome, Liv. Great to hear from you.
Hi.
Hi, Liv.
I am so jealous of you guys. I'm in Texas. We don't have anything that changes colors except
I heard it's raining there too.
red.
Oh my gosh.
It is. It is finally raining. So we're going to pretend that it's fall outside. That's about as close as we get.
There you go.
With a little bit of rainfall. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying the actual season.
Yeah. Oh no, it's great. You got to come up here during the fall. You do.
I know. I think that's every Texan's dream. Although I have to say, I was actually in the Holy Land 2.5 weeks ago.
Oh
I was
my
on a
gosh.
pilgrimage. So I was just in Israel and Palestine and Jordan. So coming home to Texas has been very interesting.
As the Psalms
With everything
tell us,
going on there. So
as the Psalms tell us, pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Yes, it's a beautiful, that part of the world is absolutely beautiful and the people are gorgeous. So
are,
keep
great
them
people.
all in your prayers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Liv, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get into podcasting and media? And tell us a little bit about Liv Harrison.
It's actually a really funny story. There's a woman who a lot of people know, Jen Fulwiler.
Oh, yeah.
She had a show on Sirius XM Catholic, the Catholic channel.
Yep.
And she was doing a conference at the time in Austin, Texas, which is about 2 hours away from me. And I had no idea who she was. All my girlfriends read her books and listened to her show. I thought she was just some rando mom that had a podcast in her minivan. I was like, who is this sad lady? And I wanted to go because all my friends were going. And so it was total FOMO, fear of missing out. And this is like 2017. And so I went with them and they contacted me because everybody who bought a ticket, they said, would you like to be on Jen's show? And I was like, oh, this sad lady with her minivan and her sad podcast, who listens to those? So I was like, I guess I'll do her a favor. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I opened the door in the Marriott and there's 150 people, women, in an audience and a stage with Jen Fulwiler and
Wow.
Hallie Lord, who also had a show on the time. And I went up there and she said, put on those headphones. We go live in 30 seconds. And I was on international radio.
Wow.
After that interview, it was about a 13-minute interview. It was not a podcast. It was her Sirius XM show. Again, had no idea who she was. Still didn't know. She looked at me and she goes, you're fantastic on live radio. And I was like, thanks, lady. I don't know who you are. And she was like, no, you're really good. And I was like, okay, thank you. Next morning, I had an email from Sirius XM's producers. So
Wow.
Amazing.
that's how I got into it.
Now, before podcasting, I mean, you've been speaking with people. You're a great speaker. I can
have.
tell just by our conversation right now. What do you like most? What do you love most about speaking to people and sharing your faith?
I think what I bring to the table is a little different. I love talking to people as if we are sitting in a living room and hanging out and they're my best friends in the entire world. That's a natural thing for me. I'm not Scott Hahn. I know that's shocking. I know we look alike, but I'm not. And I can't write like him either. So I don't bring that. I'm not a theologian. I'm not, Dr. Peter Kraft. That is not... There's so many amazing people in the Catholic speaking space. But what I love to do is make people feel comfortable and welcome there. And it's relational ministry at its best, really, to be very honest.
We hope you feel
face to
comfortable
face.
here in our living room. Speaking of living room,
I
we
love
call
it.
this the living room.
I'm not leaving. Look, I've got my coffee. I'm going to stick around.
That's
I hope
it.
you guys are
That's the
in.
spirit.
Talk about it, and I know
Yes.
you've been involved in a lot of different podcasts too over the years, and I was wondering, talk about some of the experiences you've had maybe and some of the people that you've met through the podcasting, and maybe what do you try to get out of people when they're on the show and when you're talking with them?
I love getting the story that nobody's thinking of asking. So my personal podcast that got me on the map is called Talk to Me with Liv Harrison, and it launched in May of 2020, and it was because of SiriusXM actually that podcast exists. And my goal was to get the backstory on people, not how they got to where they were, but what happened once they got there. So for instance, my first guest was Chad Hedrick, who is an Olympian He was a speed skater, and in 2006, he was the first gold medal for the United States. And I said, Chad, I want to know what happened when you actually stood on that podium. Don't tell me how you got there. I mean, what, you ate a lot of kale and you didn't go to prom? I mean, I got it. You know, it was hard work. But what happened when you actually got to that goal? Tell me about that. Talk to me about that. So I interviewed Grammy winners, NFL players, priest. You know, you work so hard. You're finally a priest. Now what? You know, what is it like on the other side? Is it everything? You know, so that's kind of what I love to get in a story, whether it's, I had a late night show that was on Catholic radio, whether I'm talking to someone who is the guy next door, the mom who's folding laundry, or, you know, the big famous whoever. Everybody has an incredible story, but I want to know the one that we're not asking. So that's what I like.
Now, we have a podcast studio here, a separate division, grexley.com, but they don't let me in there. I don't know anything about podcasting, but you do. Do you have any plans for the future? Any new podcasts, any new initiatives coming?
That's so funny that you asked. So my first podcast was in the top 1% in the nation, the thing that I never wanted to do, the thing that I thought was so silly. And God is so brilliant. I don't know if you know this. You should write that down. He's really smart. And I didn't know I was good at podcasting. I mean, who wakes up and says that as a 4-year-old? I didn't know that I was good at interviewing and getting people to talk about things that they didn't even know that they wanted to talk about. So I released it. It went really well. And then I did a second season and I've never released it. And I actually just sent a text to my producer maybe 3 days ago and said, what if we release it now and we call it the lost season? So that's actually what I think is on the horizon. I think I'm going to release that season. It's amazing Catholic entrepreneurs who have made a massive difference in your everyday and you don't know who they are. So I think that that would be interesting, even though it's a little dated as far as we recorded, I think November 2020. So,
Okay.
you know, things have changed. They've gotten better. But I think that's what's next. And I might be resurrecting my podcast. I don't know. God's stirring in my heart right now about it. We'll see.
Very
We'll
exciting.
see.
And you got a great mic, too. The audio is
I
spectacular.
do. It's a Shure. I've got 4 of them.
Sure.
Because I did a late night show in here.
Sure it
I
is.
used to have a... Yeah, I got great lights. I have a great
Oh,
setup.
yeah.
And I used
It's
to have
like
a
you're
live
here.
audience,
It's like you're right here in the living room.
Listen, if you guys need a satellite studio, you let me know. I'm available.
We will bear that in mind. Thank you. Well, now, speaking of letting people know, where can people find your podcast and follow your great work and see the new stuff coming
journey.
down the pike?
Absolutely. So I have a website, thelivharrison.com. If you're on Instagram, it's thelivharrison. So I'm really active on Instagram, probably the most, and Facebook, Liv Harrison. My name is Olivia, but I go by Liv professionally. It just sounds more great. I had a morning show on Amazon, and it was called Live Every Day, L-I-V. So
I
it's
like
a fun
it.
name. I know, right? It's like it, you know. So there you go. So
I have
the Liv Harrison. Come find me.
Very good. I have a grandniece whose name is Olivia, and we call her Livy.
Aww.
So
I'm very popular with the young ones now.
I bet you are. The LivHarrison.com. Thank you so much, Liv, for being with us all the way from Houston. And may the rain stop and God smile on your day.
Thank you. Bye, you guys. Enjoy the fall.
All right, you too. God bless.